Hello and welcome to the Kyoshi Herbie Bagwell TV show. I'm your host, Kyoshi Herbie Bagwell. Before we get started and before I introduce my guest, I want to say a very deep condolences to Vanessa Bryant and the entire Bryant family on the passing of Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant, and also my condolences to the other 7 families that also experienced that horrific tragedy that took the lives of those 9 angels. So from myself and all of us at Bagwell Academy of Martial Arts and here at the Kyoshi Herbie Bagwell TV show, our condolences and may they all rest in peace. This show this morning and this evening is going to be pretty much about a gut-wrenching subject that's been on the minds of a lot of us throughout this country. It's about parenting and parenting working together. And in spite of mom and dad's differences, can the parents still come together and work together for the good? Because God says that all things work together for the good to those who love the Lord. So if parents can take out their personal differences and come together for the children, we won't have so many dysfunctional and chaotic and crisis type situations amongst our children. But without further ado, I want to welcome to the Kyoshi Herbie Bagwell TV show a good friend, of course, my secretary and life consultant, Miss Michelle Robles. Michelle,
Hello,
welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Michelle is usually behind the scenes, everybody making me look like $10 million because $1 million ain't no money. So, but today's show is going to be about parenting, and the importance of coming together for the parents. And what's really, really wonderful about myself and Michelle, that we are both parents. Right. So we qualify greatly in discussing this topic and this subject. But without further ado, Miss Michelle, if anyone wanted to get in contact with you, only on Facebook, no phone call, but only on Facebook, how can they find you on Facebook?
Very easy. On Facebook under my name, Michelle Robles. There is my profile picture is a quote and the Puerto Rican flag on it. It's not necessarily my face, but if you click on it, you will see pictures of me and my children. So please message me with any questions or comments. So that's how to find me for now.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Outstanding. So one of the major questions that I get all the time is, Kyoshi Herbie Bagwell, how do you do it? And I tell them all the time that I keep God first place always. When things are great, when things are not so great, I keep God first place. But the most important thing I believe that people really need to know is, after you keep God first place, Mr. Bagwell, what else do you do? I talk to my children. I don't talk at them. I am my kid's father. I'm not my kid's friend.
Right.
Because a friend can just treat you any old type of way. And you're not going to talk to me any old type of way. There's no negotiations. I don't care how you're feeling as a child. You're going to do what I tell you to do, and that's just final. I think in today's world, parents are giving these kids way too much leniency. They got this broad way of parenting. How do you feel, little Johnny? Well, let's put it and let's bisect and dissect how you feel. I'm not interested in that. You're going to do what I tell you to do, and that's just going to be final. Now, when you get 21, 22 years old, and you want to be Christopher Columbus and go discover America, I'm okay with that. But until then, I'm your father. Miss Michelle.
Yes, sir.
First things first. How would you explain to people and all these thousands of viewers and Instagram family, how would you explain your take on everything?
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot for any one person to sit there and dissect how it's supposed to be. How you just explain how you look at parenting, quite frankly, doesn't really exist anymore. There's a meme lately that you hear that says you can't raise your children the way you were raised because we're not living in that type of world. And I completely agree. the way I was raised, you can't raise children anymore. I mean, I grew up in a time where you were to be seen and not heard. If the adults are in the room and they're talking, you excused yourself. And we just don't live in that time anymore. I myself as a parent had to understand, and being a divorced parent, had to understand that in ways that you are rigid because of your upbringing may not be beneficial to your own children. And that's not a concept that came to me overnight. It's not a concept that came to me off of one bad situation. It took a multitude of things to happen to really come to an understanding of what that really means. I will agree with you. I feel at certain times that no, a child needs to listen and not speak, because a child can only give us what they have at their developmental level. And it's our responsibility as the parents to really meet the child where they are. The child isn't supposed to necessarily meet us where we are, because obviously we're their parent and they're trusting on us to take care of them. I do strongly agree with you when you say, no, I am not my child's friend. I think we have a misconception that if we're the mean parent, our children are not going to love us or respect us or listen to us. And if it's one thing that hasn't changed over the course of time, is that children do look for rules and for boundaries, and because they don't know and they do need guidance. Where a lot of this may lapse, I feel, is when you do have a separation in parents, whether you're married or not. A lot of things come to play at that point. You have your way of thinking, the other parent has their way of thinking, you guys aren't getting along, and how is that going to transcend to the children? And oftentimes we hear of the negativity that transcends down to the children, because it is a lot of emotions involved, the adult emotions, the children emotions, and how do you navigate through that? And so I think we have to figure out now in our society, with so much accessibility to our young children out here, how do we navigate our own selves as parents? How do we monitor our own selves so that our kids can see instead of listening to what needs to be done? We're way apart from do as I say, not as I do. That was an old adage. My upbringing, you and I have had many conversations, and your own upbringing, that slogan's not flying anymore.
Right.
And so how do we come together as adults in a society where we do have to hear them sometimes, but it's not the way we know how to be parents? How do we get through that? And then getting through that with someone you don't even agree with or may not even like anymore.
Right. Good point. So I completely agree with everything that you're saying. I just know for me, as a parent, grew up in a single parent household. My father raised me. And my father wasn't always right. It took me a long time to realize that my dad was not always right. I love you, Daddy, but you weren't always right. And it took me a while to really understand that. And I think at this point, being the father, biological kids, I have 3. My stepkids, I have 2. So I have 5 kids. And I love all my kids dearly, and they know me. And they know when they come around Daddy, obedience is the key word. Be obedient. You're not going to talk to me any old type of way. But as far as parenting is concerned, the one thing I see today that I really do not like, I do not advocate, I see a lot of helicopter parents. They will not cut the umbilical cord. And to me, that's disgusting. I said it, it's disgusting, because what's happening is we're raising up a bunch of little softies. There's another word I want to use, but I won't use that expletive. See me at the Dunkin' Donuts, we can talk. But a lot of parents are just soft. They're raising a soft generation of kids, Miss Michelle, and they're raising up, I see more boys crying than girls. I see it in sports. I see it in my own karate school. I see it all over the place. I see the girls are stronger than the boys. And I see it's like cats chasing dogs. I mean, hysteria, it's crazy. But you can't tell parents how to raise their kids either.
No.
Now, I'm going to use a very strong phrase by the Bishop T.D. Jakes. And if they want to take notice, if they take some type of offense to what I'm getting ready to say, you can contact me or come see me, what have you. But the Bishop T.D. Jakes says this: if you take a half-committed man and a half-committed trifling woman, you're going to have half-committed trifling kids, because the kids are going to be what they see.
Yes.
And so parents, stop fussing at your kids if you're acting crazy
Right.
and you're dysfunctional and you don't have your own self together, and then your kids are acting just like you. Now you want to punish your children. I could never understand that. So I see a lot of parents today struggling with their 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old child, and it just behooves me.
Yeah.
So, but that's what you're raising, and that's what you have. That's what you have to do, is to stop complaining. Now, even in my own life, I have a 24, a 22, I have a 19, 16, and I have a 7-year-old. And I expect my 19 and older ones to start acting crazy, because it's just their time. They may think they know more than mom and dad. Well, that's okay. So go out there and be Christopher Columbus and go discover America, but don't ask me for anything. That's all. I love you. I'm going to pray for you, but don't ask me for anything. But my 16 and my 7-year-old, listen to me. And they do listen. They're all good kids. But a lot of parents today, they won't cut the umbilical cord. But you still can't tell parents how to raise their children.
No, and I mean, you raise a good point, and I think that comes down to you as a parent, though, whether you are the parent that can't let go.
Right.
I think that comes down to your style of parenting, and it comes down to your own upbringing. I myself am divorced. I have 2 boys. I have a 10 and a 7-year-old, and it's challenging. It's challenging because even if you were together in the same household, it's challenging, because dad has a view and mom has a view, and how do you come together to form the united front? I think we lost the concept of what a united front is between mom and dad.
Right.
You know, mom and dad aren't supposed to compete with one another. Mom and dad have to be...
Say it again.
Mom and dad should not be competing with one another. Mom and dad have to be the one to the children, because the children are looking for that guidance. And I had to learn what I'm speaking of through experience, through my own experience, through really looking at myself as a mom. When you become a parent for a woman, I can only speak for women, right? I can remember having been at home after giving birth to my oldest son. And I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and you know, moms, after we have a baby, the emotions are everywhere. And so the realization of the fact that I can't protect this little human that I carried and gave, came through me, I can't protect them for the rest of their lives. That's excruciating. It's excruciating as a parent that you cannot heal all of the hurt that your children will go through in their lifetime. But what I have learned is that that's not the superpower as a mom or a parent for me personally. It's helping them get through it and how they get through it, because how they live their life is a direct reflection of what you taught them growing up, right? But at the same point, if you have the other parent and those two forces don't meet eye to eye, unfortunately and sadly enough, the child is left to have to figure out what makes sense. And what makes sense for that little baby oftentimes doesn't make sense for either parent.
Right.
Because in those particular circumstances, children innately will figure out how to survive.
Yes.
So yeah, you may have that one parent who won't let go. And a child will feel that before they can cognitively understand that and still know how to work that. So if mommy says no, and mommy's more of the disciplinarian, and daddy might say yes because, I can get anything, I can get away with anything with dad.
Good guy, bad guy. Sure.
Automatically, mommy's the bad guy.
Right.
And internally, a child is thinking, well, if I can get that over there, then I'm going to continue to do what I need to do to get that over there.
Sure.
And they know how to assimilate to the environment.
I know when I was in graduate school, first semester MSW, Masters in Social Work, we labeled them jokingly king and queen manipulators.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They are the experts at it, yes.
And so, my life skills now, man, at 54 years of age, I've already written a book, a martial arts book on Amazon.com Taekwondo martial arts, a close quarter combat art. And in that book, it also discussed parenting in there. I'm huge on family, guys. I'm huge on it. Anyone who knows Herbie Bagwell knows I'm huge on family. My son Giovanni earned his black belt on my birthday, March 25th, yes. My other son Herbie, he earned his black belt with me, of course. And I'm still waiting for my daughter Alexis to come back, and of course my Anaya is 7. But the point that I'm getting at, people, is that I know parenting is not easy.
Yeah.
And I know that no one is perfect. I understand all of that. But these kids look for structure. They
Yes.
look for boundaries. They look for their parents to know what they're doing. And another strong thing I'm going to say, and this is very strong, people. This is a very tough subject to have, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's my TV show. But my point that I'm making is that whatever happened to you when you were in your teens and your 20s, I know it was traumatic. I get that. I get that. I get that. I get that. But when you're in your 30s and you're getting married and you're having kids, you know better. So stop bleeding on your kids, people. Whatever happened to you in your teens and your 20s, it has nothing to do with little Johnny or little Jane. It has nothing to do with them. It has nothing to do with them. So a lot of you parents, you're bleeding on your children, and you're bleeding on them. They had nothing to do with you growing up.
Right.
I'm not understanding that, Miss Michelle.
That's a hard concept, I think, for most of us, because like I reiterated, you know, as a parent, it does start and end with you. And becoming a parent will show you, will reveal to you things you thought you were okay with.
Right.
And a lot of times we're not. You sit here and you say, well, I went through this as a kid and I'm going to protect my child from that. But at what point? Because protecting your children from certain things can leave them with a disadvantage of not knowing how to get through something.
Okay.
So from this perspective of parents really getting it together, I hear you completely. But a lot of us parents don't even know. A lot of us parents don't know that what we went through was traumatic until we become parents ourselves. And then it's a whole other ballgame because you're like, wait a minute, that wasn't normal. Now I realize as a parent that's not normal. So how am I going to fix that and navigate that by the time this child can pick something up from me?
Right.
And so to that, I would say, be honest with you as a person, and especially as a parent. Be honest with yourself, because the shift in a family dynamic affects you too. You have feelings, you know. You once chose this person to be with and share a life with and have a family with. And now all of a sudden you guys are at odds. So in those moments, especially in the beginning, it is hard to keep perspective on where do I fit in this equation. But as a parent, you have to. And it's going to hurt and it's not going to feel good and it's extremely uncomfortable because you're exposed. You're exposed for the things that now you know you need to learn. And how do you do that now that you're an adult? Because in our society, you're right. No one is going to have compassion for the adult like they would the child, and as it should be.
I have that old school adage, and I heard you in the beginning of the program saying how we can't raise our kids how we were raised. I agree and I disagree. I'm not going to negotiate with my children. I'm not
Right.
doing it. I see almost 98% of the parents today negotiating. I don't understand this. I don't understand it. So I'm not doing it. I have a 7-year-old. I'm not negotiating with her.
Right.
She doesn't run anything.
Right.
Either myself or her mother is paying for stuff. So my 7-year-old doesn't run nothing. I see these 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids running households. I'm telling you, people, they're running households. I just don't understand that. I don't understand. It's not happening to me. It's not happening at a Bagwell residence or at a Bagwell business. There's only one alpha male in Milford, Connecticut that I know of, and that's Herbie Bagwell. So outside of that, I'm not understanding that. But to get back to what I was saying, when it comes down to a child and what he or she has to do, there's got to be structure, there's got to be boundaries, there's got to be some wiggle room, but
Yeah.
not much, because kids need structure. And if they have that positive, functional, healthy structure growing up, is going to go into their adult years.
Right.
I thank my father so much. I love you, Dad. I know you're deceased. I know you are. And I thank my father so much because I remember in ninth grade, I had a crease in my bed. I told you this before. I had a
Yep.
crease as I was making up my bed. My father got me out of school to remake my entire bed to make it nice and neat. And I'm just so thankful that my father did that because it taught me how to do things right the first time.
Right.
Now, I know a lot of parents, a lot of kids today, they may not have a father, may not even know who their father is. And some kids out there
Right.
don't even have a mother. They don't know who their mother is. I have a lot of people on social media that contact me all the time, Miss Michelle, saying how they didn't have a mom and their dad
Right,
raised them.
right.
Or they don't have a dad and their mom raised them.
I mean, even to that, they can be in the home and still not be taught by the person in that home how it should be. I mean, there's a lot of that too. There's a lot of parents that are there, but because of whatever they need to work or contend with, that child's gonna learn something maybe they shouldn't. I mean, I can speak to that for myself. It's an uphill climb. It's I don't want to call it a battle because these are your children. And we do have a responsibility to them. They don't have a responsibility to us. I think sometimes parents get that a little confused. Not up until you can really be responsible for yourself, I have a responsibility to you. The only responsibility a child really has is what you just said, to follow the rules, pretty much, right? But if you're in a situation, as we've been discussing,
I agree.
where there's animosity and hostility and anger and resentment and all these things that do come with a broken marriage or a broken relationship that involve children, now everybody's haywire.
Right.
So at that point, once the separation or divorce has happened, I have to now solely rely on me.
Right.
And that is terrifying. It was terrifying for me as a parent to say, this isn't going to work anymore. I'm going to have to step out on my own and do this. It's terrifying, but it can be done. It can be done with help. I am the one person you can come to me and sit here and talk to me about your motherhood, your fatherhood, your children, and I won't be like, ugh. We get a lot of that. We ridicule each other. We shame
Judgmental,
each
sure.
other, and we judge each other. So this is why we don't talk to each other.
Right.
This is why and it can be cultural too. There's a lot of families that won't go seek help, won't go seek therapy because that's a sign of weakness.
Right.
But what's the alternative then? And unfortunately, we're not seeing what the negative alternatives are until these children are now solely responsible for themselves.
Well, I know one thing. I look back and see how I was raised. I'm thankful. I'm very thankful and
I agree.
grateful. I was raised in the church. Most of you know that. I almost went to Yale Divinity School. Most of you know that. And I was blessed, high school, college, and pro, so I was very blessed. But I know one thing, Miss Michelle, when I was listening to you speak just now, and very eloquently too, I might say.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There is still that one piece that I tell a lot of people, when you're raising up children, it's never easy. But I have to admit, I have 2 baby mamas, and I am the best ex ever.
Wouldn't we all like to think that though? Because I think I'm the best ex-wife ever.
Listen, I'm the best ex ever because the child support is there on time. Everything is there on time. I'm the best ex ever. If my ex cannot get a child from school at a certain period of time and that's her day, all she got to do is send me a text and I'm there without question. I'm there for Alexis and Giovanni and Herbie, Katia, and Anaya. I am there. It doesn't matter if me and my kids are at odds about anything, they call daddy, daddy's right there. So I've proven that in the past. So it's not about just a bunch of lip service. I am there. I'm the best ex ever, okay? So I don't have an issue with any of my exes. I really don't. All I can say to my ex is that whatever you do, you make sure our kids are fine, then Herbie Bagwell is calm. Because if any one of my 5 kids ever come to me and they have a problem, daddy's going to handle it. It doesn't matter who is in the way, daddy's going to handle it. That's my job. It's in the Bible. In the Bible, we are commanded to be angry. We are. We are commanded to be angry, but don't let the anger go down on you. Meaning, in other words, Don't let the sun go down on your anger. Don't go to bed angry. So I've learned through scripture, not so much going to church, and although I do go to church every Sunday. If I'm not at church on Sunday, I'm at a karate tournament, okay? So I'm in church every Sunday, but I still read scripture, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. I'm on my knees praying 3 or 4 times a day. All the time I stay prayed up because God is first place in my life. So I seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all will be added unto me. And one thing that you said too, Miss Michelle, we have 3 minutes or less, I'm gonna let you have the floor. The one thing you did say to me about people coming in and out of your life, and as a child, and sometimes mom and dad are not going to get along. But I want to leave this phrase, and I'm going to try to really hold back the tears as I'm saying this phrase. They came out from us that it might be made manifest that they were not of us. For had they been of us, no doubt they would have continued with us. And that's from the Apostle Paul. So Michelle, in the last 2 or 3 minutes or so of this show, one more time, how can people get in contact with you on Facebook?
Yep, just on Facebook for now. Michelle Robles. My profile picture is a quote. I think it says, "You've got this," with the shout out of the Puerto Rican flag over it. Please message me with any questions or comments. I thank you, Herbie, for giving me this platform, because this is a topic that is true and dear to my heart. I often say that my children are my life's work, and I'm nowhere near perfect. I have had plenty of trials through this parenting thing. Have not always seen eye to eye with dad, but if it's one thing I can tell parents who are co-parenting or trying to co-parent or have separated, find your people you go and you vent to that other parent about. Your children are not a dumping ground to talk to them about how you feel about mom or dad, because you have to remember those babies are the best parts of you and the best parts of that person you chose at one point in your life. And I take that to heart, because we have to build the kids up. We have to help them understand who they are so that the world doesn't tell them who they are. And if we're tearing each other down and they're the audience, then what are we doing? And I think that's just bare minimum. If this, what I'm speaking of, is difficult for you to do right now, find a friend, call a friend on the phone, text somebody. I mean, we have so many different ways to communicate now. Again, and then so many ways to misunderstand that type of communication, but there's other ways to get it out. Our babies are not the dumping grounds to talk about the negativity between parents. So if it's one thing you get out of that,
say it again. Please
be mindful that those babies are half of both of you.
If I can jump in real quick.
Sure.
And just to piggyback on that, Miss Michelle, a lot of parents, unfortunately, because you're hurt and you're angry at the other parent, please, one thing that you have to stop doing, 180-degree turn on, is stop speaking negative about the other parent to your kids. I swear I don't understand that. It happens to me, I'm sure, quite more often than I would like for it to. But I'm not speaking negatively to my kids about my ex. I'm not going to do that, because there's just like no room for it. I could just never understand that. If I have anyone that knows Herbie Bagwell knows this. Okay? If I have anything to say to you, I will go to your church. I will go to your house. I'm not going to go behind your back. I'm going to go directly to you. So that's why Herbie Bagwell stays in prayer. That's why Herbie Bagwell stays in church, and I stay in the Word of God, because I need God's Word to keep this beast calm, because I know what God has given me. And since God has given me life, He breathed life into me. God has given me a divine purpose in this world, okay, for me to think globally, but to act locally. And I am thankful, not for only myself and for these TV shows and for the outlooks that I have and the platforms that I have, But parents, please stop talking negatively about the other parent around your kids.
Correct.
Bite your tongue. So in the last 15 seconds, Miss Michelle, take the floor.
You know, and I'm praying for all of you parents out there. I know it's not easy, mom or dad alike. Again, do the very best you can with what you have. And when you start with you, that's going to transcend to your babies. And I can only say this because I lived it. You know, I don't have a degree on this. I did go to pursue a degree in clinical mental health counseling. But this is an everyday thing. This is an everyday thing that goes on in our society. And, you know, I hope that it helped. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So on behalf of Miss Michelle Robles and the Kyoshi Herbie Bagwell TV show, I am Kyoshi Herbie Bagwell. Thank you for watching, and good night.